In the Florida legislature on Thursday, this happened. Democrats literally sitting on the House floor to protest a vote on a new congressional redistricting map proposed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Last month, DeSantis vetoed the map his own Republican-led legislature drafted in favor of a more aggressively gerrymandered map that carves up majority black districts. Just from a naked eye test, you can see something funny's going on here with this DeSantis map. 20 out of the 28 districts, or 71%, are now in play for Republicans. 71%. That is egregiously out of step with the statewide split in Florida, where in the 2020 election, Donald Trump won the state with only 51% of the vote. Florida Democrats managed to delay the vote on that map for over an hour. And when Republicans finally restarted the session, a group of Democrats refused to yield.
Black homes are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When black homes are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Stop the black attack. Stop the black attack. Stop the black attack.
That was State Representative Angie Nixon, who was among the Democrats leading the protest. In the end, the DeSantis map still passed sadly and predictably on a party line vote, 68 to 38. But the fight to challenge is far from over. Joining me now is Florida Democratic State Representative Angie Nixon. Representative Nixon, a pleasure to have you here today. I want you to quickly walk us through, yes, please walk us through quickly how the political landscape in Florida is going to change under this new proposed map.
Right. So yesterday was a direct attack on democracy staged by a politically ambitious governor by the name of Ron DeSantis. And so yesterday he eliminated 50% of, well, he's going to sign, but we voted to, I voted against, to eliminate 50% of Black representation in Congress. And what that's going to mean is that's going to mean the fact that we're going to have a lack of access to our members, a lack of access to quality health care, a lack of access for funding that helps improve our quality of life. We're already having trouble having conversations with folks from the other side. Oftentimes, it's particularly the governor's office. He won't return our calls. He won't return our emails. And so that illustrates just how he would be if he wins governor again and if he wins president of the United States, which is really what he wants to do.
Representative, I just want to get this clear. Are you saying that the governor of the state of Florida, for which you are currently a representative and you're representing constituents here in the state of Florida, that the governor won't respond to phone calls or emails when they're offered up by people like you and other members of the minority?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. There have been numerous times where we've reached out to the governor's office in regards to assisting some of our constituents. We oftentimes don't get return callbacks. We oftentimes don't get return emails or texts. And so it's just a blatant, it's a blatant attempt to just disregard the Black community. And so, I mean, that just illustrates how he's been running and governing the state the past 2 years. Look, last year there was the HB1, the anti-protest bill, which we like to call Hate Bill 1. And then this year, he pushed the Stop Learning Act, which he wants to label the Stop Woke Act, which he's actually probably going to be signing today, is what we heard. And so what that does is it's pushing policies because he doesn't want to say Black, right? Don't say Black here in the state of Florida. The governor has an issue with Black people here. It was apparent yesterday when he eliminated 50% of our representation in Congress. It's apparent by the fact that he is banning books because he banned he's banning math books. One of the math problems illustrated the health disparities that African Americans have as it relates to sickle cell. That was just one. And so this governor is a bully. He will stop at nothing because of his political ambitions to be president of the United States. Look, he's even bullying Walt Disney, someone who he accepted money from, right? Someone who many of the Republicans accepted money from, thousands upon thousands of dollars. But because it's getting in in the way of their political ambitions for their party and for the governor to become the president of the United States, they will stop at nothing. If they are attacking Disney, if they're attacking Black folks, gay folks, brown folks, immigrants, they will attack you. And we're just trying to raise awareness, because at the end of the day, yesterday, he amended our call for a special session to include the Disney policy, the Disney bill. That was a huge distraction. He didn't want people to know what was going on with his attacks on the Black people and with his attacks on the Black community. And so we're simply asking him to stop the Black attacks. And today I heard again that he is going to probably sign HB 7, and it's just going to be a huge slap in the face of all Black Floridians, all Floridians in general.
So, Representative, a few minutes ago, you did mention the attack by Ron DeSantis and the Florida GOP on things like math textbooks. Last week, the Florida Department of Education rejected 40% of math textbooks that were submitted for review, the majority of which were for...
can't hear you. Went out.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Representative?
Okay, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good, good. So I was just saying, Representative, that you mentioned the attack by Ron DeSantis, for example, on math textbooks, which was kind of the latest in the barrage of attacks that we've seen from DeSantis and the other Florida GOP members. The Florida Department of Education last week rejected 40% of math textbooks that were submitted for review, the majority of which were for K through 5. Some of those books were rejected because they, quote, incorporate prohibited topics or unsolicited strategies, including critical race theory. But the Florida DOE did not give examples for why they pulled the textbooks until yesterday, after a big furor over that. But reporter Judd Legum has tracked down some of those textbooks, and they appear to contain material like this, Representative, which teaches kids to be kind and respectful to others when learning. You work with these Republicans daily, Representative. Why are they opposed to material like this? Are they opposed to the idea that their own children shouldn't learn to just be commonly decent with others?
So I often tell folks that being a part of this process was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. The fact that we have folks in the front rows who pass legislation to leave us and our communities in despair simply because they can. Literally, that's something that one of the state representatives said when asked why he was doing something. He said, because we can. And so what we have here is a group of people who are so fearful of losing power, who are so fearful of the darkening and browning of our country that they are passing policies to negatively impact our communities. They're passing policies to return us back to the wrong side of history. And so they are fearful that we're going to do to them what they did to us, because frankly put, the Black and brown community is the new majority in the state of Florida. So they are passing bills at all costs to cause Black and brown folks to have felonies so that they cannot vote, to cause Black and brown folks to go to jail, to cause Black and brown folks to not have resources in their schools, to push teachers out of their schools. And we know the majority of kids in public school are Black and brown folks. And so what this is an all-out attack on Black people. And it's so unfortunate. And we have to stop this in November.
Florida State Representative Angie Nixon, thank you for fighting for democracy, but it sounds like we have to take the battle to the ballot box. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.